Hi guys, it's Mr. Lansford here again, and today we're going to talk about the New Deal. So, what was the New Deal and how did it start? The New Deal was the idea of the President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. He took over after Herbert Hoover. Herbert Hoover was never reelected for a second term because people were really frustrated with how he handled the Great Depression. Um, the idea was for the New Deal was that the federal government would directly get involved with the economy, and this was something unheard of during that time in history. This is the first time that this really becomes a thing. So there's a huge controversy behind the New Deal. There's two major opinions. It's either that it pretty much established that it pretty much established the government um it pretty much established the fact that the government was willing to help the people at its own expense, right? The government is willing to pay money to make sure people can live a comfortable life, essentially, according to Franklin Delano Roosevelt, right? The other opinion is that this was the end of American liberty, right? This the New Deal, the program itself, really expanded the power of the president and the power of the federal government, and because of that, it was seen as the end of the end of independent states, the end of American liberty. That essentially the federal government was just going to become a new monarchy, essentially, right? The idea that it was destroying what America was. The government really, from Franklin Delano Roosevelt's perspective, it was really all about trying to help the people. But the people had to give the federal government the power to essentially do that. So, the start of the New Deal. FDR won a landslide after Herbert Hoover, and he immediately began to start the programs. He believed that the government's goal, like we mentioned earlier, should be to make everyone be able to live comfortably. Every American should be able to have a job, to have a house, to live without having to worry about starving, and being able to live a quote unquote normal life, right? So, what did the New Deal actually do? So, one of the first things that FDR really established was unemployment. So unemployment is even controversial today, but it was started by FDR during the Great Depression to essentially give people who did not have jobs essentially a way to get some sort of income, right? It helped them get food and money so they can make it by during this time until they found a job. Also, he created a lot of public works. He created a lot of national parks and other stuff so that people could go and build them and make money doing that. Also, he established a bank holiday and closed down all banks for a day. And essentially, what he did was restructure the banks. So he completely redid how banks work, and he changed how banks were structured to the point where hopefully this would never happen again. He made it so banks had to keep more money inside them, and also could only lend out so much money of the money that they had inside of it. As well, if the bank would start to falter, couldn't pay you back, you could always get your money from the federal government. So it was what we called it was called insured by the federal government. So this really helped stabilize the banks to make sure they would not fail again. Also, he created Social Security, which essentially is, I'm sure you guys have heard of it, but during your lifetime of working before you retire, you'll pay money out of your paycheck, and that paycheck goes into Social Security. And when you retire, you get paid from the Social Security, you get paid money from Social Security. So once you're too old to work, you don't have to worry about your income or having to move back with your kids. You can just live on your own from your Social Security. Also, he established something called the National Recovery Administration in order to stabilize industries. So, this was a combination of government officials and industry experts that would go in and make policies essentially for each industry, right? So, different laws for coal or textiles or whatever in order to make sure that these industries could be stabilized to make sure they stop the bleeding and they could function normally again with some government help and intervention. So, did the New Deal in the Great Depression? No. The Great Depression would continue really until the start of World War II. Now, it is generally believed by historians that the New Deal still helped stabilize the economy some, right? So with the New Deal, there was some stability in the economy and helped some people get on their feet, and thus was helpful in some way. But we won't really see the end of the Great Depression until America kicks up into full overdrive when it comes to producing and being ready to participate in World War II. All right, guys. So that should be the last video for the Great Depression 1930s. Hopefully you guys learned something and let me know if you guys have any questions. This is Mr. Lansford signing off.